See the alternative to change. See the alternative to change. Andre Van Hall.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Colin. Sit. Good point. August 15th of 2011 is embedded in my memory. And it's like today that I remember that day. It was a hot and sticky morning, 4:45 a.m., when I stood in front of the mirror to shave. And I noticed that I couldn't see below my chest. And that filled me with dread, because 2 years before, in a similar situation, getting up to shave, I realized that something was off with my eyesight. And I went to get tested. It was determined that I had had a TIA, or transient ischemic attack, that rendered my left eye blinded from this height down. Over the next 2 weeks, I proceeded to completely lose my eyesight from my left eye. So now, back to August 15th, I'm realizing that probably the same thing is happening with my right eye, even though I had been assured by the medical profession that there was 1 chance in a billion for my right eye to go blind. Went to work and rushed, of course, to see my optometrist as soon as she opened. She dilated me and did some tests. She says, Andre, I don't think this is good. She sent me to an ophthalmologist who dilated me, did some tests, who sent me to a retina doctor who dilated me, did some tests, who sent me to an optic nerve doctor who dilated me and did some tests. And he said, Andre, I need you in the emergency room at Littleton Hospital. Lying in the gurney, getting filled with steroids to try to bring the inflammation in my eyes down. And the darkness around me is enveloping me, and it's getting darker. Not only because I'm losing my eyesight by the moment, but also because I'm in despair. I'm scared. How do I continue to do my job? How do I continue to do what I do if I'm a blind man? And as I'm lying there and I'm looking at the ceiling tile, I don't know out of where this thought came to me. And I said, I'm so dilated that I'm surprised that they brought me to the emergency room instead of the baby delivery room today. So as I am so thinking, I think I lost a dog, but as I am so thinking, all of a sudden, this bad joke. I have an encyclopedic memory for terrible jokes. And this really bad joke came to my mind. I started to laugh, and the nurse said, so what's so funny? And I said, oh, I'm thinking of a bad joke. She said, well, tell me the joke. So the teacher comes into the classroom and says, so children, says, what body part grows 5 times when stimulated? And little Susie jumps up and says, I can't believe you're asking this of us. We're in 5th grade after all. She says, Susie, sit down. I said, students, I asked you, what body part grows 5 times when stimulated? And Susie says, I'm going to get the principal. And the teacher says, Susie, sit down. Says, Johnny, you got your hand up. What is it? Well, it's the pupil when stimulated with drugs. He says, very good, Johnny, sit down. He says, Susie, stand up. He says, Susie, I'm going to tell you 3 things. Number 1, you obviously didn't do your homework. Number 2, you got a very dirty little mind. And number 3, when you're all grown up, you're going to be very disappointed. So, of course, we're yucking it up in the emergency room, and the nurse calls all the other nurses. I'm telling the joke, and the doctor comes, and I've got to tell the joke to the doctor. And all of a sudden, the room has more light. Not because I could see again, but because I was looking at it differently. I had opted to laugh instead of fall into despair and being scared. The next morning, one of my Rotarian friends, past president of our club, ran over to the Colorado Center for the Blind to find out, how does Andre come and learn to be a blind man? Another friend of mine, also a Rotarian, went over to Beyond Sight, this store that has all of the toys for the blind people, and brought me over there. And we started to play with the canes, you know, and I'm in the store walking around playing. Canes come, you know, they're folding, or they're collapsing, or they're straight and you can't do anything with them. But I'm playing with it like this in the store, and the manager comes over and says, you must be new at this. And I said, well, yes, I am. And he says, I say, how do you know? He says, well, he says, a cane is used to find obstacles. And if you walk like this, that cane finds an obstacle, you're going to change the pitch of your voice rather fast. So there was a learning curve at learning to be blind. But it was exciting. I went to the Apple store, and I told them, I'm going to be blind in 2 weeks. But I need to learn how to operate a computer and how to be able to remain a CEO of the Denver Athletic Club when I can't see my reports. And they started to teach me, and I found a terrific person through the visual vocational rehabilitation, person who taught me how to walk down the street, how to cross the street, how to listen for traffic. And that process of being curious on how to overcome a very difficult moment helped me jump over all of the despair, all of the anger, all of the anguish of going blind. It was the curiosity of my friends that went to the Colorado Center for the Blind and Beyond Sight and took me to the different places that helped me transcend and move on. We have to learn some lessons in our lives, and some of them are harder and others are easier. And I don't think that people need to go blind or get cancer or have a terrible situation in their lives to understand that we do have choices. Our companies will merge, they will be acquired. We will have a fight with our spouse or significant other. We'll have a disagreement with our children. And there are difficult moments, just like I had to face a difficult moment. But there's a dark side of despair, of worry, of anger that you can go in because it feels good to be angry. But let me tell you, find a way to laugh at the situation. Find a way to make light of it and follow the path of light rather than the path of darkness. In life, we can choose which way to go. And I hope that from this talk today, you will remember that the path of light is the fun one and the one that you should pursue. Thank you very much.